Welcome to the YI Social Podcast, the show that brings you conversations with folks who get social media. This podcast is sponsored by the National Institute for Social Media. Now, here's your host, Chris Barrows.
And welcome to the YI Social Podcast, where I bring you candid conversations with social media professionals from average Joe to CEO. Today, I am behind the handle with Eric Carlson, who's the owner of Loon's Eye Digital. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Love the show. Excited to be here.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. You know, one of the ways that we got connected more recently, you actually did a webinar for the National Institute for Social Media. I want to put that out there right now. You'll hear my read through for the National Institute later today in the show. If you've never listened, they are the sponsor of this show. But it was really interesting because I got to tune into the webinar. I know it's available on demand as well now. And we're going to hit on that hot topic a little bit later, which is really tying that tech stack together, in particular for social media managers and professionals. But first, I want to take the chance to get to know you a little bit, because you've got a pretty full career when I go back and look through it before you got to where you are as the owner of your own company. So take me back to your career. You've done a lot of different things, and I'm intrigued. Your journey, actually, you started very similar to many. You had internships. I saw that you worked in Target, so you had the retail experience.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested in is, as you look back at all of that, how does some of those roles that have, been part of your life led to where you are today? And I'm intrigued at maybe like just a shorter version of that, because I know these roles that we have shape who we are, significantly later in life, even with the smallest little ways.
Yeah, when I was in college is kind of when all these social, networks started really taking off. So when LinkedIn came out, I was still working at Target in college, and I was like, okay, well, this is where I am. I'm looking for a new job. I want to have a profile to send out to people and stuff. So put that in there. And while I was in college, I was majoring in film studies, actually. My plan was to be a director or to make commercials for businesses. And right out of college, I started doing that. I was making videos for a hobby website. So I was making videos about how to make model trains and doll houses and painting and stuff like that. So I have a whole bunch of knowledge on these hobbies that I never actually participated in. And when I was making those, I was also like putting videos up. I was doing social media alongside of it. And I'm like, I'm just kind of doing marketing along with all this stuff. And so the next role I was looking for was kind of a more general marketing role. And so I found a company that was looking for a general marketer that could do filming. And so I slotted in pretty well there. And then after that, I was like, I need some agency experience. So I went looking for an agency, and when you're doing that kind of thing, I felt like it was going to be helpful to kind of niche down. So I looked for specifically an SEO role. And so I've been kind of focused on that. I was also helping out. I was on the board for Men's Search, which is a local networking group for digital marketers and stuff like that. And then, as things have kept going, I was doing internal and agency work. And, after my more recent internal job, my job disappeared. I don't know if it was an AI casualty or something like that, but, it was kind of at the point where I was doing freelance work for clients, and I was thinking either I find more clients or I find a new job, whichever comes first. And I was able to find a couple more clients. And so I was like, well, I guess I better make this thing my legit career now.
Yeah, it's funny. And I know a lot of people have been kind of, I hate to say forced into it, but it kind of is exactly what you described. It's the moment happens, you lose a role for whatever reason. Jobs just disappeared, to your point. And whatever the reason being, it seems like it's worked out fairly well for you, because you're obviously out there doing some pretty cool things. I'm intrigued as we go back through some of the things that you mentioned. So you mentioned the agency aspect and the fact that you wanted to work in an agency. Why is it that was important to you, and what did you take away from the agency life? Because agency life moves, I have found, very differently than corporate world. So it's a really interesting experience that I've personally experienced. I'm intrigued what you took away from it.
I think the thing that I really liked about it was like the variety. You know, you're working on a different website or a different company and different accounts all day. And I've got ADHD, so that really fit really well with what works for me, you know, to be able to do something for a couple hours and then completely change it over into the next thing. That was what I really liked about it. And a lot of people say, like, you know, it's a lot faster or a lot more demanding in an agency than an internal role. And I found, like, in some ways it's the opposite, where, like, you know, if there's a company that you're working for and you're like, hey, this is what I was able to do for you. They're just like, okay, great. Like, I love that. That sounds great. They don't question you as much. Whereas when I've been in internal positions, sometimes there's a little bit more like direction handed down from people who might not necessarily understand your role as well as you think they should. And so it's a little bit more like upward management.
Yep.
And you are in an agency where they're kind of like, oh no, we hired you to be the expert.
Do you think it's interesting? You said something that stands out to me, because I've had this thought before. I've heard agencies move quicker, but I've worked in education, worked in other places. I feel like the pace is sometimes over exaggerated in every one of these industries, because everyone has a time when it moves. Everyone feels like they're fast paced. They'll say we're a fast paced work environment, but I haven't felt a major difference in any place I've been. They've all been in marketing specifically. I'm referring to, by the way. They've all seemed like they're focused on their work and there's always something to be done. Have you had that similar experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, internally, it's a little bit more of like, you know, oh shoot, we forgot to do this, so we need this out right away. And it's like, this is a last minute thing. And usually with a client in, you know, an agency, they're like, you got prescribed, you know, hours that you're working for them each month or something like that. And then usually it's more like, oh, this agent, or, you know, we've got a new client, so we need to do something last minute for them. So it's kind of like a same, but different.
Right. And it's interesting because it's also it's time management, right? So how do you manage your time when you're working with, as you do in the present state, and even in that time, how do you manage your time so to make sure you're giving all your clients exactly what they need? Because every client's project is their priority. They don't care about your other clients' priority projects. So when you've got a lot of those projects going at one time, I imagine your project management skills are something that you've worked on and developed over the course of your professional career.
I mean, really, the thing that I, you know, hang my hat on is just the upfront, getting in front of it and like setting those expectations early. If a client like knows, like, okay, this is what I'm going to deliver you each month, this is when you can expect it, it's a lot easier to manage that than to, you know, try to come back and say, like, oh, you haven't gotten to that yet. You know, they're expecting it on the 15th or whatever. As long as you've got kind of that upfront, like, this is where you're going to get things. And then when I procrastinate and save it to the last minute, you know, one client might not notice it because, you know, they're getting it on their due date. But it's definitely a thing that I find is a lot easier to get in front of it and set the expectations early so that you've got your own deadlines, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, I'll get this to you next month. And then they're calling you on the second and being like, where is it?
Right. It is this setting the expectation that becomes critical. There is one thing I did want to make sure I brought up with you as we got to know each other a little bit better here. One of the things I noticed, and this stands out on your LinkedIn, and there'll be a link to Eric's LinkedIn in the show notes for anyone who wants to see. You have in your about section the way you help local businesses, and you talk about the WIN method. Could you walk me through the WIN method for those who are not familiar with this? And I'm intrigued about how you use, you know, obviously walk people through it, but then how do you use this method to drive that success for your business?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that like it was you know, well thought out, you know, I was always planning on having this method built out for me, but really what the thing is like, I just took what I do and broke it into parts for people to understand it a little better. So I'm typically more of a SEO kind of marketing assistant, not consultant, I should say. And so the stuff that I do for people is pretty similar, you know, across different companies, different things. So I took what I did and just kind of helped explain it a little bit more for people that might not understand it. So WIN breaks down into web visibility, inbound traffic, and net conversions. So basically what I'm saying is like, hey, I'm going to get your web visibility in, to help you get found. So I'm going to get your SEO, your local SEO, your social media stuff all kind of set up and get it running. And then I'm going to get you inbound traffic. I'm going to, put out ads to help people discover you that didn't know you. I'm going to put out, social media strategy. I'm going to manage any of that stuff and try to get you in front of new people that you might not be, aware of you at the moment. And then net conversions, I'm going to make sure that I'm following up and seeing what that traffic does, seeing if they're actually giving you the leads that you want, or if they're actually like buying your product, et cetera, et cetera. And so, it's not like the system was unique to me or anything like that, but it helps explain it in a way that, if you're not in this every day like I am, it's like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need, and this is exactly how this guy can help me.
Well, I like the fact that it is pretty simple to understand when you give a brief explanation, and that it sounds like it's something also that if you're not in the space is understandable, or at least easy to explain. Let's talk a little bit about Loon's Eye Digital. So you come out of a situation where, okay, I need to do something, and you start bringing in clients. What is that process like of saying, okay, I'm going full forward for you? Because I've talked to a lot of people about, all right, I'm done. I'm leaving corporate, or I want to work for myself, whatever it is. Everyone's got a different journey. What was that journey like for you? And what was that aha moment like when, okay, I think I can make this work? Because I do think it's a moment that happens when you feel confident enough to do it. And I don't think everyone has that moment. So I'm intrigued what that was all like for you and getting the ball rolling with Loon's Eye.
Yeah. So, I think the thing that was really the most important for me was just making sure that I had the confidence that I could deliver what I wanted to deliver for people. And so while I was still doing a full-time job, I was taking on freelance clients, and the freelancing is really what, made it seem like it was a possibility, because once you're doing that, like, you're running your own agency at that point. If it's just one client and it's not a full-time gig, it's still your own thing. So, having freelance clients and, hearing feedback from them, liking what I do and stuff like that is a big confidence builder. And then once it's kind of in a situation where it's like, what do I do? Do I go look for a new job? Do I look for new clients? It was just a matter of like, where can I find new people? Who are people that are going to need this stuff that don't know, me, don't know anything about what I do. And so it was just a matter of like trying to continue to build my network, which luckily, like I said, I was on the board for MinSearch. So I was, doing a lot of networking. I was, trying to build up a group of people around me. And that was kind of it, is just, having the people to connect with and knowing that I can do it with my freelancing. It's a really important thing to build that confidence, to make sure that you know what you're doing. And then when I was actually looking for like my own business, my own like point of view as far as, what my agency is doing, I've done enough marketing stuff and seen enough, snake oil salesmen and, terrible SEOs and stuff like that, where it's like, I don't want to be that. I want what I kind of hang my hat on right now is ethical marketing. So making sure that I'm clear about like, these are the things that you will get. And these are, I'm not promising you number one rankings on your keywords. I'm not promising you, 50 clients in the first 30 days or whatever, because that's not how it works. If it's if people are promising you things, it's because they've got some snake oil they're selling you. They've got a scam to run on the algorithm, which will be great for the first 2 months and then fall off completely.
Well, the moment that you stop using that person, that all goes away, because whatever they're doing to manipulate that is, to your point, it's not real. There's something wrong with it. I mean, exactly. So I love the fact that you talk about the ethical side of it, because how often do you run into people, I imagine, that have had someone who said, well, I was promised this and I never got this? Because realistically, what you're talking about is a long-term process. You build SEO, but the Google spiders aren't going to even crawl over that in a full detail right away. It's going to take a minimum 30 to 60 days. So the impact can't even be felt to the level that some of these people promise. It's not realistic.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had clients come to tell me like, oh yeah, I tried SEO and I paid the guy for 6 months and don't know anything that he did on my website. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. Like, I don't blame you for not wanting to have another SEO if that was your experience. And, it's a matter of like I said, being upfront and setting those expectations, being communicative and making sure that they understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and understanding, why things might be working or not working for me. So like, I try to make sure that I tell people like, listen, everything I do is an experiment. I don't know how the algorithm works. If I did, I would not be running this agency. I'd be on a beach, because that would be, I would be so rich, it would be ridiculous. But everything I do is an experiment. Everything I do is, trying to be a long-term fix. It's not something that, I'm going to get you overnight success, because if it's an overnight success, it can turn into an overnight failure pretty quick.
Agreed. Well, look, I am excited to dig a little bit more into all of this, in particular, that tech stack and how that can help marketers. Before we do that, I want to take a brief moment to talk about my sponsor, the National Institute for Social Media, who empowers marketing professionals to elevate their social media expertise through industry-recognized certification. National Institute of Social Media is going to provide you comprehensive training, which is designed to build confidence, credibility, and credentials, all while fostering a global community of practice and collaboration. I am a member of this community, as I've said before on this show. It took me some time to finally do it, but I did it, and I can only say great things about that experience. And it's much more than social. It is about these sort of best practices. It is understanding goal setting. So encourage you to check that out at nismonline.org. Eric, you did a webinar with the National Institute for Social Media, and what you were talking about was that tech stack to help support the digital marketer, the social media, whether it's someone's social media is part of 5% of their job or 100% of their job. Having a good stack of technology helps you get there. So talk to me a little about this topic. Why was this topic important, and why was it one that you felt was good for a webinar topic? And maybe break down for folks maybe some of the stuff that you covered. We're not going to cover everything from that webinar, but I will include a link to the webinar in the show notes for those who want to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's a matter of like, whenever I talk to a client, I try to figure out what things, because like I said, I'm trying to follow up not just with what people are doing on their, social media and what people are doing on search, but then I want to follow up and be like, are they actually buying? Are they actually converting for you? So to do that, you've got to touch, 5-6 different tools in their tech stack that might not be talking to each other very well. So is your social media strategy working? Are they coming to your website? Are those people that are coming from social media actually converting? Are those people coming back and converting again in the future? Like, those are the kinds of questions that, prove that long-term, that long growth, that, real valuable build for a client. So in order to do that, you've got to have insight, and all the tech needs to be working together. So if there's any kind of manual manual information moving from one to another, like, that's all wasted time. I've had people say like, oh yeah, we have these tools set up, and then we have to enter it all into our CRM, our customer relationship manager, by hand. And it's just like, oh man, why? So like, those kinds of issues are things that you've got to really be able to deal with. And the sooner you can get that set up, the quicker you're going to be able to, if you're an internal, you're going to be able to prove your work to your bosses. And if you're an agency, you're going to be able to prove it to your clients. So having it all work together is, big priority for someone like me, I think.
Has AI played a part in that tech stack now? Because obviously AI can automate a lot of processes and is built into these. So I'm intrigued by what you've seen and how AI has, kind of integrated itself into the tech stack as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are using AI to do a lot of their marketing work, something where it's like, what are the insights from my report? Having AI do that. So a lot of times it's just another tool that gets added into there. So instead of, having to go through manually and look at their numbers and draw your own conclusions, you can send it to your AI tool that'll do it for you. or it might be something where it's like, oh no, I'm having AI build the connection between my CRM and my website so that I can see what people are doing on my website and see how many times people come back, et cetera, et cetera. For the most part, I think the number one thing that you've got to be aware of is like what AI is good at and what it's not good at. It can get you maybe 80% of the way there, but you've got to have somebody that actually has knowledge to get you that other 20%. The way that AI works is it's all just kind of guessing what should come next in the sentence or next in the code or whatever it's writing. And so a good way to look at it is like it's going to give you like the very median result that you're going to look for. So if you're having it write your content, it's going to give you average content. So if you're looking for above average, you need somebody that is above average to go back and tweak it and update it and make it work right. Right now, for me, I'm not using AI in like the actual tech stack environment. So I will use it to kind of just help out when I don't want to go through a million different data points. I'll say like, what are some key findings here? Or, what's an outline of something that, that is a lot more than I want to go through. But it's not like something that I'm currently like using in a day-to-day operation to try to, automate things or anything like that, just because there are so many times that it can create the same issues that you have when your tech stack isn't working together, where data falls off or data gets lost or, data gets made up. So trying to make sure that you're keeping things on a one-to-one level, especially like when you're moving client data from one tool to another, that's all stuff that you really got to make sure that you've got a good automation in place. And in the webinar I gave, like I talked about how, there's a lot of native integrations from one tool to another. And that's kind of the best way to do it, just because, if there's an issue, though, that's on that company to fix their integration. But yeah, like if you're using AI to do that, not only are you not going to have something that updates automatically, but if something does break, now you don't even have an expert to go to. You've got to go ask AI to help fix this problem that it created. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
But that native integration that you talk about is really the critical structure. Now, not native integration doesn't exist necessarily for every tool. Not all those connectors exist, but they do in some key spaces. I know, for example, Google has plenty. HubSpot's got a lot of native connectors, right? So provided what do you say though to those folks who maybe don't have, say, the budget for some of the tools that are guaranteed? Because HubSpot and some of these others can get expensive, especially at an enterprise level, right? So are there any tools out there for people that do a pretty good job on a budget? And how do you help someone set up that type of tech stack on more of a budget, especially since you're working with small businesses? I have to imagine you've dealt with this from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you find the tools that you like, and unfortunately, the answer is going to be it depends. I've got a little sign that says that in the background of my video here that says it depends, because that's what every SEO ever is, the answer to every question. So, if you're somebody that's going to be doing a lot of content marketing, you've probably got a good content tool. If you're doing emails, you might have a favorite email tool. So what you're looking for then is the native integrations in your favorite tool, and try to find a way that you can get more functionality in those native integrations. The downside with the native integrations is there's usually like a limit to how much it's going to actually like integrate between the two different things. So it might not pull all the data that it's collecting, or it might not pull all the data from the other tool or whatever. So that's when you're going to need to either have somebody write something for you, or you can use a third party like a Zapier, where you can actually like get a connection between the two and get a little bit more custom. But again, the more custom you look for, the more custom of a connection you need, the more errors you might be running into, the more expertise you're going to need to help manage that stuff. So it's a balancing act of like basic integration and automation versus, the level of customizability and the actual like data that's going to be helpful for you.
Yeah, and I know, and even with, say, metapixels, there's 2 layers of metapixels, and one is more advanced and deeper. And not everyone has, I've seen it where not everyone even has the right one set up. So they're not even pulling the right data from pixels because they didn't do the deeper dive, or maybe they haven't updated to the newer version, right? Which, so it's also keeping an eye on it, which is why someone like yourself, or there's a professional working with someone to keep this up to date and say, hey, have you updated? Because we can pull better, more detailed information here. And it's a lot. And that's why someone like you is out there doing this work. And I really appreciate it. I want to encourage people, though, if you want this real deep dive into the tech stack, go check out the webinar. The link, again, will be in the show notes. And so you'll see that in the description. Eric, one of my favorite things on the show is 5 favorites. So before you go anywhere, you got to do 5 favorites. And the first question I always ask is, what is your favorite social network?
I lately it's just been TikTok, just being able to get on there and just see something funny. I got to go with that one for right now.
TikTok is a ton of fun. It can be a time suck, which is exactly why why there's an age limit coming to it for many countries actually at this point.
Although I will say I probably spend more time on LinkedIn. So maybe I should say that one. I got the most accurately roasted I've ever been is when I was in a online community and I was busy doing work and life stuff. And they're like, I haven't seen him in a while. Where is he? And one of the guys on there said, oh, he's a LinkedIn lifer. I'll reach out there and see if I can get in touch with him. And I was like, oh man, that's accurate and hurtful that I'm a LinkedIn lifer, but so it is.
I understand. I will say I'm probably more reachable by LinkedIn some days than text messaging. So I understand that way too well. One of the things I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite, and bear with me on this one, a favorite underrated tool that you've used? Because I know everyone's heard of some of these, Zapier, as you mentioned. I've mentioned HubSpot, but is there any favorite underrated tools that maybe people are less familiar with in the space that has been valuable for you or your clients?
I think the number one tool that's underrated is Tag Manager. Everybody's got, their Facebook pixel, their Metapixel, their, whatever other things they've got on their website. But using a tag manager is super handy because one, you're not having to update your site's code every time you want to add a new thing or, make a change in your pixel. And then it's also something where it's like, if you don't want to give your marketing person access to the back end of your website, like there's a lot that they can do with a tag manager. So I think that Google Tag Manager is probably going to be my answer for that one.
Yeah. And I got to ask, you talked about the hobbies. You worked with a lot of different hobbies. What was your favorite hobby that you now know way more about than you ever expected, from that past life?
I'm going to say radio controlled planes. There was we had a channel that was based all on that. And they've got some really impressive things where like people are like remaking actual planes from World War II. And people are making actual jet engines that are radio controlled, and they come flying around, and it's crazy to see the kinds of stuff that people are putting in the air, there. And not only is it impressive just to see it work, but the people that are in the hobby will say like, yeah, all these will fail. They've all got an expiration date that's just not printed on the box. And so they'll have thousands of dollars flying around that they know is eventually going to crash. And they'll have to start over on a new plane for him.
Oh, that's crazy. Look, people are going to see this in the background because, as I've noted with this show, I want to get more of these videos up on YouTube. So people are going to see this. And I'm excited by this because for me, I'm geeking out a little bit. I mentioned this earlier. Behind you, I see lots of awesome art on the wall. You mentioned It Depends. Below that is a visual that I know very well. So I think I know the answer to the question, but what is your favorite? Because I'm going to ask you TV show or movie, but do you got a favorite video game? Because I have a sense of what it might be.
Yeah, pretty obvious. I don't hide away from it, but yeah, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. I played all the Red Dead games. Really looking forward to the next one, Rockstar, in 20 years, whenever they get around to getting out the next one.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, my dad was a big Western movie guy, so I grew up watching John Wayne and Clint Eastwood and stuff. And so having a video game where you're getting to be a cowboy, you go out, you rob trains and stuff like that. It was right up my alley. Absolutely love it. And I mean, if you've played the game, you know how deep and there's secrets that people are still discovering, 10 years later after it came out. There's still mysteries that people are being like, oh wow, no, nobody's ever seen this or knew what this was or discovered this in this game. So yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 is absolutely my favorite game of all time.
For people watching and listening to this too, I want to point out, if you haven't played this game, it is a phenomenal story. And when you talk about social and storytelling and storytelling just in marketing as a whole, I mean, the story behind this game and including the marketing that they do after the fact with the voice actors in talking about their passion. And I mean, it's remarkable to the point that I'm with you. This is my favorite game of all time as well, for what it's worth. And and I'm not going to lie, folks, to be prepared to cry if you play this game. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. No full sport. Just be prepared to cry if you play this game, because you will. Last but not least, though, and maybe it's going to be a Western, but favorite TV show or movie?
It goes back and forth all the time. I'm going to say my favorite movie is Ghostbusters. You can't really see it as well, but there's a proton pack here, artwork on that one. So yeah, Ghostbusters, and I've got Blues Brothers over here. So and I guess Dan Aykroyd in the late 80s, early 90s is just kind of the answer. But Ghostbusters has been a huge part of my personality ever since I was very little.
I'm gonna bonus question this. What's your favorite Ghostbusters film? Is it OG 2? It's probably not one of the new ones. It's more likely to be 1 or 2. But what's your favorite?
I will say, I mean, the newest, not the newest one, but the second one,
Afterlife.
Afterlife, where it was directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of the director of the original, Ivan Reitman, and the story in that is really I'm gonna spoil it a little bit here, but I grew up watching Ghostbusters with my mom, and the story in that movie, Afterlife, it brings up a lot of kind of that familial, relationship stuff. And I bawled crying when I saw that the first time. It was a big thing for me. So
I know exactly what scene you're talking about, of course, with that one. I agree. I thought that was quite solid. Look, before you go anywhere, very important. This is why I social. So if I don't ask the question, why do you social? Something's wrong. So Eric, why do you social?
I social because I'm a very much demand to be center of attention. And so I'm going to be online trying to, make jokes or, get people's attention. So I social just for that. But then it's also, my business. I'm trying to promote Loon's Eye Digital. I'm trying to make sure that people understand what I think is important in the marketing world and social world. So, yeah.
Love it. Before you go anywhere, very important as well. Where can people find you? What are you up to? And where's the best place to connect with you? As I mentioned, I will have a link to Eric's LinkedIn in the notes, so feel free to connect with there, obviously. But where else can they find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best. LinkedIn Lifer. But otherwise, probably the next best place is to just go to loonseyedigital.com. You can connect with me there, and it's if there's anything else that people are looking for, they can always reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, I do want to thank you for joining me. Like I mentioned, if you want to learn more about that full stack that Eric's been kind of alluded to, and we talked a little bit about, there's a full hour webinar, approximately 45 minutes to an hour webinar that you can check out. I'll have a link to that. That was brought to you by the National and Super Social Media, who again sponsors this podcast. But I hope you'll go check that out. If you are also a certified strategist with the National and Super Social Media, you're going to get some credits for it too. So definitely check that out. On that note, I just want to thank everyone for listening. Please let me know if you have any other questions. And in the meantime, that's it for today. So thank you for listening. This has been the Why I Social podcast.